It is Sunday, everybody. Is it slippery Sunday? Because those roads in the Hammer are not very good. No, it's the Streakers Island Special Edition podcast with the boy wonder, Jacob Moore, sports analyst. I don't know if I'm the boy wonder anymore. I'm 30. And then we got more for your money.
Woo!
And the CEO, Chazzy, holding the football of destiny. The NFL football. I guess Chazzy likes them small. He likes them small balls. But on today's show, we are talking all Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is today, and this is going to be hopefully another classic Super Bowl here. But we're going to go over the strengths of both teams, some key players to watch for, keys to victory, and then, of course, we're going to give you our picks. Download the Streakers app and challenge us today. But let's get started here on some of those strengths. And more for your money, if you can think of one strength for Philly, what is it? Like, what's one of their biggest strengths heading into this one?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Philly's been doing it all season and all playoffs, and they'll keep doing it. And that's for one game. Where one game is incredible. And not just Barkley. Hurst can win too. And the backup running back, my name just slipped on me, unfortunately. I apologize. But they won as a unit, and they can flip the field with their one game, which is pretty incredible.
And I'm going to add to that there and say that O-line and D-line is another huge strength for Philly. They control the line of scrimmage, right? And don't get me wrong, Barkley has had an insane year. You put Barkley though in front of a mediocre O-line, he's not hitting 2,000 yards this year. And I feel the same way about the D-line here. I don't think Philly's winning as many games they do if that D-line doesn't create the sacks or the pressure where the secondary can take advantage. But I know, Chazzy, you were really excited about this team because they love to run a certain option that a lot of teams struggle figuring out what to cover.
What's that, the tush push?
Oh, they love that tush push, that's for sure. But I'm talking the RPO here, ladies and gentlemen. That run pass option is huge for Philadelphia because when you have guys like Barkley, when they start to fill up the box, it's going to open up the passing game. But Chazzy, let's get that in there. Why do you think Philly's got tush push is going to be such a key factor here?
Well, one, the size of the Kansas City offense or defensive line there, but like I was saying earlier, I think the biggest thing here, like you say, the RPO is the weapon they got in Barkley. He can catch the ball and he's going to run the ball. And he's the biggest change other than some other weapons on offense since the last time they played in the last Super Bowl a couple of years ago in Arizona, 38-35. So I'm very interested to see if Barkley is that big difference. And yeah, that run pass option, Jalen Hurts uses that, reads it well, then Philly should fly off to a nice Super Bowl victory.
Fly, Eagles, fly, or whatever.
Yeah. Most
But
controversial Super Bowl, possibly.
Let's get into Kansas City strengths. And whether people like this team or not, they have dominated this season. They have always found ways to win. And that's where I think their clutch experience could really come into play coming into this one. KC seems to find a way to have the ball at the right time. Whether it's they just make a big play when they need it. It doesn't matter if they win by 1 point or 40 by the standings. A win is a win, and a Super Bowl win is a Super Bowl win. So I think that clutch experience in KC could be a big difference maker here. But Chazzy, what's something in KC then in their strengths that you're really looking for them to utilize this game?
Well, they're all talking about it's going to be Patty Mahomes. He's thrown for just shy of 1,100 yards, 7 TDs in 4 of his Super Bowls. I think he's, 2 TD passes away from Terry Bradshaw for third on the list. So he's the big elephant in the room. If that defense, like we mentioned on a couple episodes earlier, that Eagles defense can pressure him and get him off his game, keep him rolling, keep him off balance, then it's going to be a long day for Patty Mahomes. But love him or hate him, love the Chiefs, hate the Chiefs, but him and Kelsey, if they have a big game, let's see what happens to that defense on the Eagles if they can sustain those guys.
Yeah, that passing game I would definitely say is a strength for KC over the Eagles. Like, again, as you said, whether you like Patrick Mahomes or not, he's able to make great plays at great moments, and the Eagles defense going to have a hard time slowing him down. But more for your money, I know we talked a bit off camera about some of the trick plays this team likes to run. Do you think we're going to see one or two of those at a certain time where they need something big?
100% I do. And I think that's a big key for KC is not just the staff on the players on the field, but the staff off the field. They got all that experience too, and they're a real veteran leadership group, and they do a lot of crazy trick plays. Sometimes they almost look like a CFL offense, all the crazy plays they do. So it'll be really exciting to see. I think that's the key part for KC to get the victory there.
I will say just quickly, I would love to see Andy Reid coach a CFL team. Can you
Um,
imagine all the motion he would use? It'd be unbelievable. I mean, you'd have to take a huge pay cut, but come on, Andy Reid, come over to Canada. But now,
We'll give you all the
On that
purpose you
Andy
want.
Reid, he's just broke. I believe this is the game he'll break Bill Belichick's four. I think this is 45th
Ooh.
postseason game, just beating Bill's record. And I believe he's got 28 wins, and I think the record's 31 held by Bill as well.
yeah,
Wow.
let's be honest here. Andy Reid's going to break that record soon, unless he decides
Absolute
to quit
mastermind.
coaching and just fill and chill, as Shaq likes to say. But let's get into now. We talked about some of the key areas on these teams. Let's start to break down some of the key players on this team.
Mm.
Let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles here, and more for your money. Who's one player that you think could be a real difference maker in this game?
I'm going to be a little different from what everyone else is saying. I think it's going to be Brown. I know Brown was a little slow leading into the playoffs, literally slow enough to read a book, which was legendary and awesome. But then in that Washington game, as I said in the podcast earlier, this month, he really took over that game against Washington. He took over by big plays, big catches, some big blocks, and he got into Washington's head. And by getting into some head, he got them to take some penalties. And with the controversy of this Super Bowl, like I said earlier, the most controversial Super Bowl in history, more than likely, all the eyes are going to be on the refereeing, and the referees are going to have to call some penalties on KC and make it fair. So if Brown gets underneath KC's skin and makes some big plays, I think Brown's going to get a minimum 100 yards, and I think he's going to be a big key for Philly.
Yeah, I will say so. You're thinking Brown over 100 yards. Wow,
Yeah.
that's an over under I would challenge you on. I think AJ Brown's gonna have a big game. I would put him in that like probably 65 and a half would be my over under on a guy like Brown, especially considering the Eagles have only thrown over 200 yards in the playoffs once so far on their run. Mind you,
Dude,
don't get me wrong, that pass game's been great, but they make plays when they need to. But I don't know if Brown's going to have 100 plus.
I might throw a Drake reference in here since Kendrick's doing a half show. I'm going to say Brown's going to hit 0-100 real quick.
So, all right. So I think AJ Brown definitely could be a big factor
Real
in this one.
quick.
But Chazzy, who's a guy that you feel, or a group of guys that you feel is going to make a big difference for this team in the Super Bowl for Philly?
I'm going to go back to Barkley. On this Eagles team, other than like you mentioned, a couple pieces, he's the biggest difference from the last time they played. So he's just over 2,000 franchise record. I believe he's about 30, 40 yards from Terrell Davis's single season and postseason rushing record of just shy of 2,500 yards. I think he could potentially have a huge game, not only along the ground, but like we said, he could catch the ball and find some open space too, right? So mine's going to be Barkley on that Eagles offense.
I mean, let's be honest here. Saquon Barkley has put the running back to the forefront in the NFL this year. He is arguably should have won MVP this year, and this is no disrespect to Josh Allen. He had a phenomenal year this year, and I'm so happy for Josh Allen. A nicer guy couldn't have got the award, but I feel he earned it for his play on the field. But you could have argued Saquon Barkley as well. He has been a guy that has really proven running backs should get paid. But running backs and quarterbacks need one key ingredient to have success, and that's an offensive line. And when you watch the Philadelphia Eagles over the last few years, it's been the O-line and the D-line that's won them a lot of these games. There are groups of players that seem to make moves at the right time. That O-line is pretty much the same as last year, besides losing Jason Kelsey. He's too busy being on a podcast. But I really do feel this game for Philly is if they're going to win, it's going to be in the trenches, and that's where the offensive line and the defensive line is going to make a huge difference. They're going to have to control Chris Jones over on KC, and they're going to have to give Jalen Hurst the time when they want to run some RPOs that he can make a decision. And it's same for Barkley. Barkley is a phenomenal running back, but if there's no holes, he's not going to be able to get those 15 plus yard runs. He might be getting those 3 to 4 yard runs, which that's much harder to sustain a game with just running the ball. So that offensive and defensive line is going to be absolutely huge for Philly, a real difference maker.
And the early indication coming out of New Orleans is the Eagles fans are outnumbering the Chiefs fans already. So they said it's not even close.
And I mean, let's be honest here, and I actually do feel bad.
Crowd noise. It's a
I
dome.
do actually feel bad for Chief fans, but a lot of these people are feeling anyone but the Chiefs, right? And that's going to be a big thing. We could say a fourth key player or group for the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be the fan base. The fans are going to be loud. I think a lot of other fan bases, you look at Bills Mafia, if they're there, they're certainly not cheering for Patrick Mahomes. Mind you, people don't particularly like the Philadelphia Eagle fan base either. Let's just be honest. But I think people, if they're going to become a fan for the day, get on that Wells Fargo wagon as it comes down the street, they're going to be Eagles fans.
So, question. There was a report that they said ticket price for this game is down a bit. We have the Chiefs now, the first team in NFL history to make 5 Super Bowls out of the last 6 years. Do you think that is an indicator of, are we tired of the Chiefs, or is it like, are the fans, or is the world, it's the Chiefs versus the world? Is that what we're looking at in this Super Bowl?
100%. ABC, anybody but the Chiefs.
Now, the only other thing I am going to say is, let's just be honest, people don't have the disposable income they did. And I think that's a big thing too. We look at ticket prices last year, they were astronomical and people just couldn't afford to go. So it's more, especially in the Sculptor venue, though, we're still seeing tickets sell for an insane amount. But let's get into those Kansas City Chiefs. They have just as good a chance of winning as anyone else out of these two teams that are here. So Lamar somehow puts out the greatest diss track ever and they give him the Super Bowl. But more for your money, I want you to take the lead here, as I know you're a big Chiefs fan. I can tell by the Bills hat. If you see the Chiefs winning, who's a key guy that's going to be a big difference for them?
Well, I'm wearing my Bills outfit because, let's be honest, the Bills should be in this game. And I think ticket sales would be a lot higher if the Bills were there. I think the atmosphere in the game would be a lot better if Bills Mafia fans. So let's just be honest. So that's why I'm representing the Bills, okay? But I'm going to go completely off the board here and even off the field. And I'm going to say the key player at KC is not even a player. I think the key player for the Chiefs is Andy Reid. Andy Reid is arguably the best coach of all time. I think even better than Bill Belichick. And he wants to beat false records and be in those same conversations. And he's very close, but he's not quite there. So I don't know how many hot dogs and burgers he's got to eat to get pumped for this game, but he's got to fill up and he's got to get all ready of these crazy trick plays and just keeping the calm of the field. He's very good at keeping his players calm. You know, like I said earlier, Brown's going to get on you for skin. Well, he's going to counteract that and he's going to keep everyone calm. And I think, especially if the Super Bowl is as much as it's all about talent and physical abilities, it's also about mental too, and Andy Reid's very good at playing the mental game, playing the clock, and I think at this point, we all know the players at KC, right? But I think at this point, Andy Reid is going to be the key to victory with KC, because I think they got the advances of that over Philly.
Definitely agree with you there. Master of draining the clock and the master of calling the play at the right time. Yeah. It's insane.
I'm like Mr. Dan Campbell, unfortunately, in the Detroit there.
But one thing, too, I will say I really respect Andy Reid for, too, is he just seems to be able to read the game really well. He knows when he needs to send a sneak blitz. He knows when everyone should pull back. He's a guy that him and his coaching staff have really developed a system in KC, like it or lump it, that works. Let's be
Okay.
honest, I don't think anyone enjoys the way KC drains the clock, but until the NFL changes it and makes it where you can't, they're going to keep doing it. And why shouldn't they? So I do agree with you more for your money. I think Andy Reid could be the key to this because let's be real here. The Philadelphia coach lets his emotions get the better of him, and we
Right.
could see a bit of a coach's duel here. And I
Yeah.
think in a 1v1 takes all game, a good
Mhm.
old head to head, if you will, I do feel here that's where Andy Reid could be a huge advantage. But Chazzy, I know there's someone else you had in mind for KC who you think could be a real difference maker for them.
Oh, well, I think it's that front line, starting with Jones and Wharton, and then coming off the edge is Karlaftis, and Dana coming off the edge there. So if these guys can disrupt Jalen and get him off his throwing game, and they're able to shut the run down early, forcing Jalen to start throwing, he better be accurate because these guys are coming at him. So.
That's true. KC seems to know you. You go back to that Bills game on that fourth and short where the Bills went for that pass play and the Chiefs doing that sneak blitz. That D line can really make a big difference, and that's where you take those playmakers, you take the coaching staff, and you put it together. And it can be very hard to beat. The Chiefs have won this year more on defense than offense, I would argue. This is a season that, yes, Patty Mahomes has been Patty Mahomes, and Travis Kelce in the playoffs all of a sudden realized he isn't retired yet, and he's woken up. But, I mean, let's be honest, the Chiefs won and lost games on their defense this year. Well, they only lost two, and second one they lost, they didn't really try. But
And
I
they
Like,
only
think
look
lost
what that
Buffalo.
defense did against the Bills. We mentioned earlier, it's easy for Josh to get 3-4 yards. They were shutting them down on those short yard pass plays or run plays. So if they can do that again and disrupt Jalen, we'll see.
Now, I think this is going to be a bit of a harder task for them to do that against Philly because that's really what they're built to do. But we talk so much about Philadelphia's run game. I want to bring it over to my key player to watch, and that's Hunt. I
Yeah.
feel Hunt is a guy that's really came to this team late in the year, and he's been a difference maker. I would argue he's been better than Pacheco this year. Now, I think
Mhm.
Pacheco could still have a big game this Super Bowl, but I think it's up to Hunt. I think he's going to take the majority of the carries for the Chiefs, and I think he's the one that's going to get them some 5+ yard runs. Yes, the Eagles like to get those 15 plus. I think if you can get in the second and medium all the time for the Chiefs, that's how you're going to be able to play that clock game. And we all know they love to play it, and that's going to be a difference maker for the Chiefs. And I could see Hunt being that guy to make that difference.
I was going to say Hunt, and you took him from me.
Wow. Who writes the rundown?
Well, that's why. Here we are, right?
Hey, I am the self-proclaimed sports analyst, ladies and
That's
gentlemen, so that's the way it goes. But let's get into these keys to victory. So, guys, I want to give you my keys to victory, and you're going to agree or disagree. So, my keys to victory for Philly, let's start with Philly. Run over 200 team yards. Between Barkley and Hurst, you got to get over 200 yards this game.
Yep.
I think you need to play the Chiefs' own game and manage the clock. Don't give Mahomes any time to do anything. And when he gets the ball, feel like he's got to move the ball, they'll put pressure on them. As much as we talk about Philly's run game, I think they're going to take a playbook out of the game against the Commanders. And they're going to throw the ball early with those RPOs, Chazzy, that you talked about. And last, but certainly not least, sustain pressure to keep Mahomes in the pocket. If you blitz from one side and let him roll out to the other, you're done.
100%.
He's been able to make too many plays happen and know the right time to slide to draw the flags, whether you like it or lump it. He's good at it, and he knows how to get those penalties, and getting those extra 15 yards on those plays has been a big difference for KC. So you got to keep Mahomes in the pocket where those flags just can't happen, or he can't explode on a big throw down the Travis Kelce up the middle of the field or run the ball for 20, 30 yards. All right, boys, so agree or disagree? What do you think on my keys to victory for the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Eagles, as the mayor says?
I agree with you 100%, but I think you got it dead on.
Chazzy, what are your thoughts?
No, I definitely agree with you on the establish the run game. I think one thing too will be the win the turnover battle. Can you get Patty Mahomes to make an error? I think he's thrown 13 touchdowns since that Week 11 loss to Buffalo when he threw, I think, a pair of interception. So if you're able to throw them off and win that turnover battle, the Eagles are going to be dangerous. Keep Patty Mahomes off the field, long drives, and that's the key to victory for the Eagles.
I will say, because now, mind you, KC has proven they can make a mistake and still win, like they did against Buffalo. There was that fumble, but they still found a way to get it done. But I do agree, if you can frustrate Mahomes, maybe get him to throw an interception or two, flip the field quick, that could be a huge difference. But now let's get into the keys to victory for KC. And again, we're going to play our favorite game of the show. Agree or disagree? So, for Kansas City, they need to keep Philadelphia's run game in check. They're not going to stop it. Let's just be honest. But if you can limit those 15-plus yard runs, that's going to be a great way to make them not flip the field. And it's hard to run 110 yards down the field. And it's going to force Jalen Hurts to make some plays. I think they got to design some plays to get Mahomes out of the pocket. Yes, he's a great pocket passer, and I'm not denying that. But if you can get them where Philly blitzes from one side, but it's a design play where Mahomes curls to the other side and it's got a lot of open field with maybe Worthy on a go route, who's one of the fastest receivers in the NFL, could see some breakout plays. And I'm going to say last, but certainly not least, you got to get Travis Kelce involved early. I feel with Travis Kelce, he's one of those guys where if you don't get him involved right away, he might fall asleep at the wheel. And we don't want Carrie Underwood singing Jesus Take the Wheel. We want to make sure here that Travis Kelce is a big part of this offense, because he is. Whether he's making some big blocks or even you're just getting him some quick routes, quick to the outside for anywhere from 3 to 6 yards early on, like we see from a lot of tight ends. I'm not saying they have to be big plays, but Travis Kelce has to get involved early. So, Chazzy, I'm going to start with you. Agree?
I will definitely agree with you. Yes, if you don't get Travis Kelce involved early, he's going to be peed off. Yeah. Anyway, you got to get him involved in the whole game. It's the Super Bowl. And then, yes, that front line of Kansas City to stop that Philly run game, the size of those boys, yes, limit them. Anything can happen for the Chiefs.
All right, more for your money. What are your thoughts here on those keys to victory? Do you agree or do you disagree?
Well, I guess it's kind of boring, but here on the island, we're all chilling on a good vibe and we're all agreeing with each other. I agree with you 100%, J-Mo. I think you're dead on.
Because we look at these teams and each of them have a Superman ability guy. Patrick Mahomes is a Superman ability guy there on KC, and Barkley is Superman on the other side. It's Superman versus Batman situation here. I guess
what keeps going to do better.
I guess Patrick Mahomes is Batman, because Batman's just basically a rich guy with a cool car and a fancy suit. But let's get into who do we think is going to win this game. So I'm going to go last here. Call me Slim Shady because he always goes last. And more for your money, I want to start with you. Philly or KC, and why?
I am going with Philly. And the reason why I'm going for Philly is Casey's been here multiple times and won multiple bowls. Well, guess what? Philly was just here a couple years ago as well. And I've been saying it all season. All season, everyone's been saying Philadelphia is not as good as a record. We're not that good of a team. Hurst is having a bad year. Barkley is old and washed up. Brown is old and washed up. Blah, 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 blah. Well, look who's blobbing now. The Eagles are here, baby, in the Super Bowl. And I think it'll be an amazing story if, after all the hating talk, the Eagles win the whole bloody thing. And I think they can do it. I also said before, too, this is going to be the most controversial Super Bowl in NFL history because of the refereeing and everything. So if KC does win 3 Super Bowls in the row, the league, everyone's going to question if the game was fixed and the league is fixed. It's going to raise a lot of eyebrows. So I think the Eagles are going to get it done.
That's an interesting point. I do think with the officiating, I also, as much as we've complained about it on the show, I think people got to stop whining about it at the same time. They're humans. Yeah. They're going to make mistakes. Sure. We're never going to see a perfect officiated game. However, there's been rumblings about them adding the technology in the football for this game where they can tell officially if it's a first down or not. If they do that, that is something that could be a game changer, especially with Philly loving the tush push or the brotherly shove, as maybe the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air might call it. But Chazzy, now I'm throwing the football to you. Who's going to take this one? KC or Philly?
I'm gonna agree with Morfor there, and I'm gonna take the Philadelphia Eagles. And we talk about experience that the Chiefs had. I just think that loss that the Eagles had a couple of years ago, like
Yeah.
losing in the second half, we all saw the emotions get the best of the coaching staff even before the game started. I think those emotions are in check. They've got the experience. They know what this game's all about now. Now you add in a Barkley. You got what the biggest chess piece on the board going into the game with Barkley. So yeah, I just think the Eagles are going to have just enough to score that last play to bring home the Super Bowl.
I do agree with you. I think if Philly wins this, it's going to be on the back of Saquon Barkley. When you mentioned it earlier, he's the guy that has been the difference this year to last Super Bowl. He's the big piece that's very, very different to Philly. Not that they had a terrible running game before, but it wasn't dominant. Man, I bet Giants fans must be crying. I just thought I'd state that right now.
I wasn't going to mention that, but yeah, I'd be sick to my stomach.
But now it's my pick. And I want Philly to win. I hope Philly wins. But I don't think they will. And I'm going to
Whoa.
I feel at the end of the
Wow.
day, this will be a very close game. And I think it's going to, we look at a chess match and you need to think 3 moves ahead. More for your money. You nailed it on the head earlier when you said Andy Reid. Andy Reid is going to call some play at the right time, whether it's a stop or it's a first down when they need it to kill the clock to kick the game-winning field goal or get the 2-point conversion when they need it to make it a 5-point lead versus a 3-point lead, and it's going to force Philadelphia into their hands. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I truly do hope I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, I will, I don't know, I'll use this scissor and cut off one piece of hair. Freaks more for your money out when I hold scissors.
Don't do that.
So,
You'll hold up the circus book and you'll point it at yourself.
yes. And I'll even say I'm not as smart as a 5th grader and I will never try to host The Masked Singer. But this isn't on the script, but I'm going to throw it at you guys anyways. Let's talk scores.
I knew that's what's coming.
I'm going to give mine first, okay?
Well, that's fair. You threw it up there.
Don't care. I'm going to say it's going to be a low-scoring game, and the Chiefs win by 4, 21-17. Defense is going to be a big difference, but at the end of the day, it's going to be one big play that's going to make the difference. Now, more for your money, you always get mad when I put you on the spot. So, Chazzy, you're going next. Because I don't want to listen to Dan whine all day tomorrow. You have any time to think about it.
I'm not emo, bro.
So, Chazzy, what's your prediction for the score? Are you thinking high-scoring action, or are you thinking like me and it's going to be a low-scoring game?
Well, I was just checking what the latest was. It's 48.5 points. So I'm going to say 24-20 Eagles will take the W.
We're both thinking a 4-point spread. That's interesting. So more for your money. I have given you over 2 minutes to think. That is a lot of time. That's more time than I gave Chazzy. That's more time than I gave myself. I just got off work. Now, more for your money. Score predictions. Are you taking the over and think we're going to see a high-scoring game, or is this going to be a defensive chess match?
Well, I think it's very strange that both of you went with a 4-point difference because you look at scoring in football, right? You get 3 points for a field goal, 1 point for extra point conversion, 2 points for a passing game point conversion, and 6 points for touchdowns. I don't know where you're getting 4 from.
2 safeties, baby.
Wow. Okay. But I'm going to go. I think we're going to rewrite history. And correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not a expert, but I think when Philly won the played in Super Bowl last time, they lost 35-38. And I think this time they're going to win 38-35. So I'm going to go with a higher scoring game because I think as good as the defense are good at both teams, as the offense are really the star of these teams. Well, I shouldn't say that. Eagles have a very good defense, but the Eagles defense is more of a unit, but the actual one star, both on the offense of this team. So I think 38-35. And because of the way scoring of football works, I'm going to say a 3-point difference, not a 4-point difference.
Okay, you know what? Listen here. 4 points happen. We've seen it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Anything
I get it.
can happen.
I even get it for CFL game, because then you have for Woods.
We see a lot of extra points missed these days, so.
We see a lot, and I want to add more teams are going for 2-point converts than we've seen. And I think part of that is because the kickers, let's just be honest, the kickers in the NFL are not that good this year.
Well, I was just going to say that too. Like, that's going to be a key of both teams is the kicking. That I don't miss.
But I think it's time for us to watch the game.
Yeah.
But
Fill up on
before we
KFC,
go-
boys.
Before we go, More for Your Money always has an island mindset. And this is the part of the show where we just take some sort of thing as a good takeaway for your life. Maybe I don't think it's to order KFC because, you know, I think your arteries are saying don't do that. But More for Your Money, what's your quote, your island mindset?
Well, it's not necessarily a quote this time, and it's not necessarily a happy, positive thought, but it's the reality here, okay? Reality is we're all going to have a good time on Sunday watching the Super Bowl, and some of us are going to be drinking alcohol. And I don't drink alcohol personally, but some of us are going to drink alcohol, and I think that is A-okay. A lot of support local breweries, 100%. But what not to do is do not drink and drive. There are no excuses nowadays. You practically got cars to drive themselves. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But you have things like, Uber, and you can use your feet and walk through the snow depending where you are. And you have, like I said, you got friends and everyone that can take you. You got public transit. So don't drink and drive. Have a great time, but be smart. Plan ahead. Don't drink and drive.
You just remind me of the Don't Drink and Drive commercial where the dog hides the person's keys. I love that.
Yeah. Don't drink and drive.
But 100%, there are so many options now, and there is no excuse. There are ride services that will drive your car home. There is literally no excuse anymore. There's Uber, Lyft, any ride share. As Dan said, take a bus. That is bussing, bro. Yeah. But we got to go. Thank you so much for tuning into the Streakers Island podcast. If you want to challenge us, we have our own sports booth because we're cool like that. And jump on the Streakers gaming app. Challenge your friends, earn and play for free. We all love free in this economy. Never lose, always win. Looking for more Streakers Island podcast content? Make sure to follow us on our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Pinkies up. But thank you very much for watching the show, and we will see you back on Tuesday for our Four Nations episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Come on in! Oh, there's an opportunity knocking right there. All right, Streakers.
More for your money.
Big news. Yeah. We have more for your money joining the Streakers Nation and the team. It takes a village to do something that we want to pull off. We're so excited. So download the latest Streakers app. Watch for the updates. Watch for more happening. Coming for more for your money. Let's go streaking.